I am part of the research class, and I am going to be presenting um, some information on what I found out when I was working on my research project. So I'll start with my research question, and that was what ideas, strategies, communications, and interactions create a a caring learning environment for our students. So this started for me quite a long time ago. Once I got into teaching about 7 years ago, I started to realize there was a dramatic difference between different classrooms. And I began to wonder why some classrooms were more warm and caring and more successful than others. So I've been doing a lot of reading on the topic and trying different things in my classroom. And my rationale for this particular project was I really wanted to find out what are the salient factors for establishing a caring learning classroom environment. I decided I wanted to tease out consistent, recurring ideas or strategies and practices through personal investigation, offering insight, and in essence, a sense of proof of best practices. Being in the trenches with the participants, I thought would mean I could hear, see, witness through personal experiences and real life connections the impact of how colleagues develop caring learning environments. So my research plan was pretty straightforward. I had chosen to interview several of my colleagues as well as a few other educators out of my district that I knew personally. I decided I was going to interview some classroom teachers, a reading specialist, an adjustment counselor, and my principal. So I wanted to get kind of a range of participants involved. All the participants have been informed of the purpose of my research, the voluntary nature. They were assured anonymity and any anticipated publication. The participants are comprised of 7 women ranging in age from 25 to over 40. And I also decided that I would take advantage of summer school classes going on at my school. And I actually reached out to 2 teachers, and they were really willing to let me come in and observe their classroom. So I was really fortunate to have that opportunity as well. So my data analysis is really interesting. When I initially started getting some data in, I noticed 3 categories stood out to me: respect, structure, and relationships. And then I kept going back to the data kind of over and over, trying to get it to sort into those 3 categories. And then I realized maybe that's not what the data was telling me. Maybe there was a different story here. So when I went back and I looked at the data again, and kind of with a fresh set of eyes, I found really what I was looking at was authenticity was at the heart of creating caring learning communities that were founded in mutual respect. The cornerstone was building relationships founded on trust. And interestingly for me, my first few attempts at analyzing, as I said, it was misleading. I really thought it was more simple. It was just respect, structure, relationships. And I realized I just was not seeing the big picture. I was only seeing what was visible, or kind of the visible characteristics. At this point, I recategorized the data and noticed structure expectations were all possible because of authentic relationships built on respect and trust. But it was really the authentic relationships built on respect and trust that was at the heart. My collaborator is a teacher. She's also the ESL department head and a doctoral candidate in educational leadership at Lesley. Her input has been invaluable, just right from the beginning, with my interview questions to things I missed to just different feedback, suggestion of what to do when I was struggling with data. She was just really able to give me some suggestions when I felt like I was getting stuck. She also read my paper, gave me suggestions, looked at what was going on, the grammar, all that stuff. She reviewed my findings, my conclusion, And then I also relied on my research group for feedback as well as the professor. So these are my findings. What I really discovered is that the heart of caring learning communities is authentic relationships, really facilitated by passionate teachers. I learned language is the physical manifestation we observe of the essential components of mutual respect and trust when developing these authentic relationships with our students, and that really facilitates the growth of caring learning communities. When we authentically respect our students, they reciprocate. When our students fail, we continue to teach them, model for them, and above all else, we need to respect them even when they can't respect themselves or even us in that moment. Really respect in all of these successful communities was the pathway to trust. So respect and trust, I found, really the hallmarks of successful caring learning communities. If you had those two things in conjunction with being authentic, you were bound to have a successful learning community. So creating trust was really important and key. And it really happened through open communication, fair and equitable treatment of the students, also a real reliance on natural consequences as a means to creating this caring learning environment. And I noticed too, as soon as the trust was established, it really created those opportunities for real deep learning and growth across all domains of learning for all the students in these classes. I also noticed that expectations were met as a natural byproduct of meaningful, authentic, mutually respectful, trust-laden relationships. And those were really the three main components, the foundation, if you will, for creating a caring learning community. Students do not want to disappoint you because they care. They're invested because you are invested. And when you're truly not, they know it. So developing mutual respect through clear expectations, authentic relationships built on trust culminates in caring learning communities. And really essential to facilitating these practices are authentic, passionate teachers willing to invest themselves in ensuring a sense of belonging, or as one teacher really put it, a sense of family. So that's really what I learned throughout this process. And I hope that you really feel like you got a sense of what the project entailed and really what I uncovered and kind of how it took a very different turn than I had thought it was going to.